People who slept with a coworker, what's your story? I met a girl at the movie theater where I worked when I was 17, she was also 17. We had that kind of flirtation that starts out as teasing and turns into something that you just can't ignore. After a few months it went beyond teasing. Suggestive language and those glances and eye contact that suggested something more. We would hide away in dark corners and rooms in the back, out of view of customers and coworkers, and make out. Then I got trained in projection. And once I started getting shifts, I'd start sneaking her into the booth and we would have sex on her lunch breaks. Only the projectionist and managers had keys. And the managers were always busy in the lobby on the weekends, so we were never disturbed. It'll be 21 years together next January. Bloody hell, you're still in there. The managers have not unlocked this door in 21 years. People are getting really tired of watching Meet the Fockers. It's The Irishman. It'll be done in 2036. Absolute cinema.png. This gave me a boner and then a heart boner. Congratulations. Has the projection booth been cleaned at least once in those 21 years? There is an entire universe in there and they are the gods. That is the type of happy ending I want to read about after a movie. Well, we had an awkward time of being friends with sexual tension for a year. We eventually had sex, and yada yada yada. We're married and our second child is currently rolling all over me as I type this. Same, ours are teens now. Teens get heavy. You yada yada over the best part. Been married 15 years now, so I guess you could say it's getting pretty serious. Does HR know? I don't think Mr. Puff Stuff would care. I met my wife at work, but she was married at the time and dating at work is a dumb idea anyway. A year later I used her as a reference and she was separated. Like you, 25 years later I'm married with 2 kids and wondering how I got here. And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Congrats Kip and La Fondue. My wife owns a business. I'm her lowest paid employee. I make $0/hour. I do enjoy the sex. Probably the best perk of the job. I have a similar situation. I do fill in work as my partner's receptionist. The first few times, I got paid for it. After that, I said, this is silly and highly inefficient for taxes. When I work for you, just take me out to dinner those days. We also have a standing arrangement on days I'm not working. If they're trying to order lunch and DoorDash isn't cooperating, just call me. I'll go pick up lunch, all for the price of my own lunch. Of course that doesn't work if I'm busy with something else then, but that's unusual. Our house is 5 or 10 minutes from their office. For tax reasons, paying you is likely extremely efficient. It comes pretty close to even, you don't pay your spouse. And the tax hit comes from higher income in the business. Pay your spouse and that gets taxed on your personal income. It's a CPA question, and the difference may lay in which one is less of an ass pain in your books and taxes. Reminds me of my friend, he and his wife were both English professors at the college where I worked. Every spring semester he would audit his wife's advanced grammar course as a way to keep his grammar in shape, senior level course on diagramming English language sentences. Friends of mine who took that class said that when the professor would hand back the tests, he'd show off his 100% score to whomever sat next to him that day and say, I guess this is what I get for sleeping with the teacher. Did it once. Super awkward after. Swore I'd never do it again. Got new job. Did it again. Super awkward after. Swore I'd never do it again. Got new job. Did it again. We've been married 10 years. Together for 16. Gets new job. Ended up getting married. 30 years until his death. With all due respect for the seriousness of the situation, this almost sounds like he's still alive and you're planning his death 30 years from now to the day. That's exactly how I read it as well. That is how I initially read this, too. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. I installed an EMR system in a doctor's office and slept with one of the doctors. Epic sales technicians be drowning in it. The pursuit of happiness. That's an epic story. This is the story of how I derailed a wedding with a pack of cigarettes. I guess we were flirtatious with each other and I never really noticed it. She was cute, but I thought I always treated her like I would a friend because she had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend turned into a fiancé. This fiancé was the son of the general manager. She was scheduled to be on vacation soon for her wedding. It was about a month away or so. Out of nowhere she kissed me while we were working. She told me not to tell anyone. Just a few short days before she was leaving for her wedding she found herself out of cigarettes with no money to buy a pack. I felt bad because I knew what it was like not to have nicotine. I bought her a pack of cigarettes. She started her vacation days off. During her vacation one of the managers came to me and told me that she called off the wedding. She broke up with him. When she came back she asked if I wanted to hang out sometime. We got drunk and fucked like rabbits. We were laying in bed together and she told me why she broke up with him. They had been together for several years and he had never bought her anything. Not one birthday gift or one Christmas gift, ever. It was the innocent pack of cigarettes that I bought her that made her realize he was going to be a shitty husband. We dated off and on for a few years, but we were not right for each other and ultimately broke up. You forgot to buy her more cigarettes? I married her. 42 years. 3 kids and 5 grandchildren later, we're still together. Much to the annoyance of her mother who said it wouldn't last the first year. Dated for a while. She was my supervisor. Good relationship, good breakup. No regrets, great time. It works if everyone involved is an adult. Apparently very few are. I disagree. I think far more people have done it and got away with it. And we had no idea. We know about the cases that ended in drama and awkwardness. We had a bunch of sex and ended up getting married. 10 plus years now. 15 years here. I got a rock. Sex a few times, all times were great. We both knew there was nothing of substance other than sex. We amicably parted ways when I left the unit. Good sex, she liked but stuff. Giving or receiving? Yes. Got married. The following year. Divorced. You normally want to divorce the wife before marrying the coworker. He was my foreman. I went down on him in the electrical room and the general foreman's office. 4 years later, we're engaged. And currently pissed at each other. I know. It's a beautiful love story. Vito. The fuck you doin'? He was catching not pitching? Had a casual hookup with a coworker after some drinks. She later moved to California for a new job. Years later I see her on an adult site working in her new job cowboy hat face. I was the bartender and he was the executive chef. I felt this draw to him even though I had no interest in dating at all. I knew I loved him the first time we spent time alone. He came up behind me at the gym when I was squatting and touched the small of my back and my hips to help with my form. My form was perfect. It was like a lightning strike. He was my soulmate and I knew it. I could literally feel it physically, this urge to never be away from him again. It wasn't even a date. I didn't know he had feelings for me. He was everything. He built my kids' bikes for them. He taught me to cook in ways I'll use forever. He taught me so much at the gym while I watched his fucking beautiful biceps. He taught me that squirting is real. Neither of us were expecting that and he taught me to laugh about the embarrassment when I thought I'd peed on him and it just felt amazing. I was mortified. I only got 3 years. He has been gone about the same amount of time I knew him now. It feels like I have been holding my breath since he died. I still dream about the times we snuck in the walk-in to make out. There was just so much joy. No one is ever going to look at me like that again. Now I miss him, too. And I'm a straight male. Jokes aside, sorry for your loss. This hits me so hard. I'm currently with we were coworkers. We some sex. Now we have 4 kids. And she's everything I ever wanted, and several things I didn't know I wanted, person. And I get mini panics when I think about being without her. I'm so sorry for your loss. I truly hope you find peace and love. Just make sure you tell her how incredibly important she is to you as much as you can. Eddie and I said I love you 10 times and hour. It sounds silly, but I just couldn't look at that beautiful man without saying it. He'd randomly shout it while he was in the shower. I never took a shower he didn't interrupt by sticking his head in for a kiss and an I love you. One time he was distracted and didn't come in and I thought something was wrong. Rolling on the floor laughing, God, I fucking miss him. It's the little stuff that you do to tell her how much you love her every day that you hold on to when they're gone. So do those constantly. Little love notes hidden for her to find in her car and the house. Picking her wildflowers on the way home, taking a night away from the little gremlins for one another. Do those things non-stop and you will know you never wasted a moment. I wasted too many. Treasure her. It was awesome. She had pierced nipples and a lower back tattoo. Dated for a few months and then broke up. Awkward for a while, but it was worth it. Used to work as a waitress at a carnival. He was with the gymnastics team doing some trampoline jump act. Was so much fun fooling around during breaks at work, but we both had silly jobs back then, so I guess it doesn't count as a proper coworker. Do carnies hook up with each other? All the time. There's also so much drama going on behind the scenes. Carnies are probably near the top in workplace sexual shenanigans. Carnivals have waitresses? In my early 20s, I worked as a bartender in a small-town hotel in Western Canada. This was back before weed was legal, and this town had a few bikers living back in the bush growing crops. One of the bikers' girlfriends became a cook in the hotel. She was about 6 years older than I was. I was young and dumb. She showed up on my doorstep one rainy night. After that, we fooled around every time we closed together. Learned not to have sex on pool tables. Rug burn in seconds. My housemate teased, the last thing you'll hear is the chick-chick of his shotgun. I laughed. Was true though. Wait, you died? I should have written, if he finds out. The last thing you'll hear. He never found out. Don't tell Scotty. Welp, it's happened a few times. The last one asked me out. Never been asked out by a woman before, and to be honest I figured she was way out of my league. We started talking. Went out on a few dates. A few dates turned into dating. Eventually I would ask her to marry me, and a couple kiddos later we're still together after 6 years. Edit. The only time I would consider myself sleeping around would be after a 7-year relationship I had that ended badly. I had dated a little bit around that time to help get over all of it. Never huge into the bar scene. I worked in healthcare and travel in my line of work, so I've always found it fairly easy to build friendships or more if it ended up that way. I ended up dating him. Almost 11 years together now and married 6 years. It worked out for us, but I'm going to assume the majority of the time it won't. Married her. Been happily together for 39 years. How long have you been together though? Slept with a colleague a few weekends ago. We're friends. It was incredible. We work at a company with over 100k employees. Not the end of the world. I got caught at a concert and had to quit my job. Coldplay concert? My lawyer says I shouldn't disclose any further details on Reddit. Typical CEO talk. Still trying. Will report back later. Hey, this is Bob from HR. We've had some people complain about sexual harassment. Drop by my office and bring your badge please. I was young. And it was there. We met at work and she was 10 years older than I and very flirtatious. Also, she was married and had a kid. She eventually asked me out for drinks after work. We never made it to the bar and ended up fucking in a parking lot. After that, every day we worked together she would ask me what my lunch plans were. She would then take me in her car to get coffee, she paid, and then drive us to a drive-up style place, think Sonic. And while we waited on food to come out she would top me up. She also bought my food. On some weekends / after work we'd fuck. One day, she approached me asking about my lunch plans but let me know that her husband was going to meet her for lunch. I think it was to warn me to not say anything, but I wasn't gonna anyway because I'm way early 20s and they had a kid and I wasn't trying to be stepdaddy. Anyway, I see the kid walk in, because she's brought her kid in before, and then I see this guy with the kid. This dude looks straight up like Forrest Gump with the leg braces and all kinds of shit. Turns out, dude has CP. I did it for a little while longer but eventually had to stop due to guilt. This might sound like a cool story, bro, material, but I swear it's true. I'm an average dude, in every way. I don't know what got into her, aside from me, and I haven't had it happen since so who knows. So apparently this is how people meet their spouses. Wow. Kept fucking me while I was asleep, no condom. When I broke up with her because she wouldn't stop doing it had a meltdown that led to her getting fired. Which led to people looking for a reason to get me fired because they liked her better than me. So many questions. Never stick your dick in crazy. Jesus Christ, I am so sorry that happened to you. That's really fucked and it sounds like the people around you made it worse. She was a 10. She had emotional issues and shit and it pissed my coworkers off to see a 10 with a 6 or 7 at best. Edit. Not age 10 FFS. An aesthetic 10, model level bits. Holy shit, I read this as she was 10 for a hot second. That was very important. It did heavy lifting. Had a great summer fling, learned what it felt like to be a team in a relationship. Later learned how to have a professional relationship with someone after you fucked them a bunch. Learned why hooking up after you break up is not a good plan. It was great though. No regrets. Still respect him to this day and appreciate the relationship for all the growth it gave me. We hooked up on a drunken night after being at a social outing with other coworkers. We all left the bar and came back to hang out at my house. After everyone else left we banged it out till about 7 a.m. Now we're engaged. Been together a total of 5 years and getting married in a few months and I couldn't be happier. I was his supervisor. We have 3 kids together. Our oldest is 8. Dude, don't rate your children. Did it once when I was in high school. She was my supervisor at work, 5 years older than me, and had a boyfriend. It was a chill job so it didn't turn out too bad, but I took note of the fact that everyone knew about it almost immediately. Too many times, but not a good idea, especially when moving from one relationship to another in the same workplace. English backpacker hired as a laborer through our woodworking shed. Got on really well even though she was a couple years older. Started sleeping together even occasionally on site. All boiled over and rest of the workshop found out after a heated argument where just because we are fucking, doesn't mean I'm not your tradesman. Do your job, might have been thrown out there. We've been together over 8 years now with a baby due to arrive by the end of the month. It was excellent sneaking around though. My apartment was essentially across the street from the office, and we'd each leave the office separately for various meetings, or whatever, to go hook up. Co-contractor independent ally got second position. The co-contractor happened to be my wife.
Aww.
Yeah, work wife and home wife. I was 20 and single. I worked at a pizzeria. As a misguided young man, I had been exposed to a silly notion that crazy girls were good in bed. A new waitress started, and we got to know each other a bit over cigarettes here and there. She eventually told me that she had previously been committed to a mental care facility for an episode she had, which included her stabbing a cop with a pencil. For the advancement of science, I became determined to sleep with her in order to see if that silly notion was true. It wasn't. She wasn't anything all that special in bed. Still, I had a great time. I didn't get stabbed, and we remained friends for a few years afterward. We got married last week. Brought her home from the bar. Slept with her, asked her the next day what's next, and she said just be friends. Best outcome for me. I'd say go for it. Aha. Dated coworker. She broke up with me and I find 1 week after she was sleeping with the CEO where I work. Fast forward now, they're engaged. Long story short, don't shit where you eat. Married with teenagers now. Slept with multiple co-workers over the years. One and done after a work party. We both stayed professional afterwards and it never came up again. 3 out of 4 stars. Routine fuck buddy. Started as a drunken hookup after a work event, but we kept hooking up here and there. Had a convo early on about not catching feelings and just wanting to have a safe, familiar bang while looking for a long-term partners. Kept it professional at work as well. 4 out of 4 stars. Another drunken work party hookup, but she was younger and a recent college grad. She immediately caught feelings and effectively blackmailed me into keeping things going, otherwise she would tell the boss, which would nuke us both. Come to find out she was hooking up with other dudes in the office at the same time. Got tested and had to be bad at sex until she got bored and left the company. 1 out of 4 stars. 1 star because she was incredibly hot, but as stable as a 2-legged table. When it's good it's great, but when it's bad it can be really bad with the potential of destroying your career. I suspect it's selection bias, but it's interesting how the vast majority of these are. It turned out great, we've been married for years. Had sex. Was enjoyed by everyone. 10 out of 10 would sex again. People who want to sleep with a coworker, what's your story? After 4 years of working with him and having sexual tension and the timing of being single never aligning. I am now single, he has a girlfriend. And I'm unfortunately in love. Hoping my feelings will die eventually. Biggest mistake I ever made. The fallout destroyed my marriage, job and family relationships. Not worth the pain I felt nor the pain I caused. Still regret it almost 20 years after the fact. I was 19. She was in the US from Colombia. She gave me attention. We had fun all summer. She left. I moved to Colombia the following year. Came back the year after that single. She missed her period, then found out I was also talking to another girl at work and got mad at me and told me she'd keep it. Ended up just being late by a few weeks and learned my lesson. Had dinner after work. Went back to her place. Spent the night. Sent her off to her hometown the next day. Still miss her, but had a great time. I was 29, he was 21. We were both CNAs working a night shift. I ran myself into the ground at that job trying to take good care of too many people with little to no help. He was the only other employee that actually did all of his job, and did it well. We connected over that, then we became friends. Then the sexual tension developed. Man, that was a good year. I was older and a fucking wild stoner degenerate with so many experiences and stories, and a few arrests, under my belt. Plus I also had a child. He was a golden boy with a military future that had barely left our little hometown and had never been in any trouble, done any drugs, etc. We were so different it's hard to really put it into perspective. Due to various life circumstances and living in a small town, we had to sneak around. We fucked anywhere we could, often in his truck. He still lived with his parents, but he'd sneak me in anyway and we'd get down right underneath his parents' bedroom. He was so innocent, but he tried so hard to please me, and he did. Most considerate man I've ever slept with. Sometimes we'd stay up all night and go out and booze cruise dirt roads listening to music till the sun came up. From day one we agreed we would be friends and stay friends, but that our lives were not really compatible in the long term. After months of all of that, he was deployed to Iraq. I talked to him when I could, when he had service, and when I couldn't instead I would check the news obsessively hoping like hell he'd make it home. He did. I picked him up from the airport and it was totally like one of those scenes from a movie with me running up to him. Him picking me up and spinning me in circles while kissing passionately. We went to the lake for the night and talked until we fell asleep by the fire. The next day I took him home to surprise his family, who still had no idea of anything between us and thought I was just a coworker/friend. A few months later, he moved away for a job, and that was it. It's been a few years now. I still miss him. These days, I'm with someone and have a family. He met someone and they live together now. God damn it, she better be good to him. She fucking better be as amazing as he deserves. Because that man is a rare specimen. He was the absolute sweetest, most genuine guy I've ever been close with. Sometimes I wish I could go back to those days. No regrets. I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. This is movie material. Her name was Marty. I was 20 and she was 24. We worked in a kitchen at a nice restaurant. We became friends day one and hung out all the time. I found her very attractive, but she was way out of my league. Nonetheless, I lived the friendship. Hanging out together after work. Watching TV together. Chatting about life. She was a super good friend. I got a second job bartending. One night she came over to the bar and she was enjoying herself. My roommate also works at the bar and he asked me if he could use my car after work because he picked up a girl at the bar. Marty said she would drive me home, so I gave him my keys. She drove me home and came into my apartment. Nothing strange there. She came over all the time. She plopped down on my bed. Again, nothing strange. She did that all the time. Then she said, "Sometimes you really need it. Take your clothes off." I stood there in shock and said, "You first," and she started to strip. It all went wild after that. I moved away a few months later. It was kinda weird after we had sex, but we were still friends. After I moved away, I never saw her or heard from her again. I think about that night often. It was almost 40 years ago. A lot of events in life start and then slide downhill and end. Sometimes I wonder why. Matched with a cute girl on Tinder. Turns out she showed up at my work on Monday having transferred from another location in a different city. Coincidence? We pretended not to recognize each other for about 2 days before we went out for drinks after work. We were drunk and she admitted she recognized me immediately. We made out in an alley. And had sex in my apartment after. Split amicably after a few months of hooking up. Great time overall. Slept with a coworker at my retail job when I was 18 because I had just started college and I wanted to lose my virginity. We ended up dating for 6.5 years. When we met, he lived with his mom and was figuring out what he wanted to do with his life. He was still living with his mom and figuring out what to do with his life when we broke up. Just take a tip from me and don't do it. I told my coworker the same thing. Just take a tip from me. We have been together for 14 years. That's my husband's and I favorite game. Just the tip. I second that. Unless you intend to leave, like already secured another job and signed a resignation letter. That's how I did it. It was amazing, but we never connected again after that because I made it very clear that this was my fantasy and I am leaving, so he was very happy to help. My huge mistake. My ex-boyfriend introduced me to him when we were 18 and we hung out all together a few times. One day ex told me there was an opening at the pet store he worked at and I love animals, so I applied. We worked together for a few months and the whole time ex was cheating on me and I knew and stupidly stayed. One time the topic of marriage came up at work and I was like, yeah, I would never marry that dude, but he's fun, and he point blank asked me why I was wasting my time and I had no excuse, so I dumped him. He was dating around, so nothing happened immediately, but one day he asked me on a date and I said yes, had Chipotle, and he took me back home. Things moved quickly and I think 2 weeks later I slept with him and 2 months later we moved in together. It's been 8 years and we have 2 kids and a house and the whole 9 yards, and I have not a single regret. Love that man with all my heart and everything that came from it. She won't leave. It's now 17 years. 2 kids later. H.R. won't help. Got out of a relationship. She was interested, so we started dating. She was a manager in another group. I was a supervisor in my group. It was fine. I left the company while we were still dating, but it petered out. Wasn't bad. Don't know if I would do it again though. Married with 2 dogs. Never dip your pen in company ink. Almost immediately complicates things, and in the words of the band New Found Glory in 2004, it's all downhill from here. What a reference. Meh. Life involves risk. Can go either way. Like 9 out of 10 comments in this thread ended in marriage, so either you are wrong or everyone is lying. 13 years married. Best decision I ever made. Nothing wrong with meeting someone from work to date. Married the last one. Well, we've been together 4 years as of a few days ago, and we have my son from a previous relationship and a 1.5-year-old of our own. We got married and are still married. My ex dumped me for her coworker and he ended up being gay. In the 20 or so of my working years, I have slept with 8 coworkers. Somehow none of them ever turned into a big deal. but 6 of them were in my early 20s at a country club that had a bunch of good-looking girls who worked at the bar/restaurant. And I think it's pretty common at that age for people to have casual sex when it's only a job and not their career. The last one there had an event planning job at the club and we dated for 3 years. Sleeping with a coworker is awesome. Dating one can be a very bad idea. I have never found the perfect balance, nor do I regret trying. It was really good. I started working there so I could hang out with them. It was their family's business. I worked there off and on for a few years. I became part of the family. We were together for 10 years. Been together for 7 years now. But man, it was a horrific time when the whole workplace found out. Married her, she was in a different department, but related directly to mine. Worth it. I was in my early 40s and had a year-long affair with a coworker in her very early 20s. I had no idea she was into me until 2 other coworkers separately pointed it out. I was clueless. I was training her at dispensing meds and things got flirty. Soon after we would text and joke around, which eventually led to sexting. This girl was wise beyond her years. She was tall, had an amazing body with a razor-sharp wit and had that kind of rockabilly punk style, complete with jet black hair, tattoos and piercings. Pretty soon after that our attraction to each other was undeniable and we started having sex. The first time was a revelation. She was so loud I thought my neighbors were going to call the cops on us. Her cock-handling and oral skills to this day have never been matched. For about a year we would have marathon sessions, sometimes with the help of cocaine and ecstasy. In the end I fell in love with her and she got bored of me. She was young and I don't blame her for moving on from my old ass. Every girl I've been with since has been somewhat of a disappointment because they just don't hold a candle to her. I still think about her all the time. Sweet, sweet Stephanie. I also had flings with 3 other coworkers, but it was super casual and didn't amount to anything. Slept with a guy I worked with when I worked retail many eons ago. We kept our situationship a secret for a while until we eventually realized we really liked each other. We both no longer work at that job, but we are still together 20 years and 2 kids later. So, I had 2 tickets to Coldplay concert. Dated a stew on a yacht I worked on. I was the sports guy. She was Brazilian and came with all the stereotypes. Great sex. But I knew it would eventually come with a price. Sure enough, she got physically abusive one day, being jealous over nothing, genuinely. I tried to break up with her, but she turned on the waterworks. Fast forward a week. Nearly the exact same story. She's jealous. Hits me again, and that was that. I broke up with her. The story doesn't end there though. A coworker, the one who my GF was jealous of, filed an HR complaint against my GF and also told HR that she hit me. Our cabins were next to each other and the coworker heard everything. I get called into HR and confirm the story. My GF gets called in last and thinks I was the one who filed the complaint. So she tells HR that she hit me out of self-defense. And that was that. We both got fired. Kicked off the ship in Hong Kong with a one-way ticket home. But the story doesn't end there. I'm back home in Florida licking my wounds, and she reaches out to me via email, blocked on everything else. She asks to stay with me in Florida while she looks for a new yacht gig. I obviously say no. Well, turns out at some point back on the yacht she went through my phone and found some nudes of another woman, no affiliation to the yacht. That woman and I had an affair. Her husband was cheating on her and I guess she wanted revenge. Anyway, my GF tries to blackmail me. Said she'll send the nude photos to the woman's whole FB friend group to include her dad and husband. I still refused. So she sent them. We banged once casually, she caught feelings for me and then proceeded to fake a pregnancy when I didn't show interest in being a couple. Fun time that was. I relocated to France after a merger. The only Brit to do so in the company, probably because it fell just after a divorce and I needed change. I was 35, and unbeknownst to me the very hot 22-year-old intern was a big fan of Midsummer Murders, and my accent reminded her of Inspector Barnaby. It was a very good 6 months of finding myself and cos/foreplaying Inspector Barnaby. Even the boss's desk was a victim of our maneuvers. This all fell apart thanks to Brexit and the merger falling apart, but it would never have lasted. She'd have found out sooner or later I'd never solved a case. Married her. 23 years and counting. I was a dirty slut, and so were they. Well, most of them. A few of them were innocent. Everyone's fucking everyone in restaurants, but the owner is usually fucking everyone the hardest. I worked in a supermarket for a year when I was 17. In that time I slept with 4 female colleagues ranging in age from 19 to 40. It was working retail in my teens that I realized older women like younger men just as men like younger women.